Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm incredibly excited. I got Victoria Gallagher today. Victoria is a wonderful author and hypnotherapist. You might have read her books, Practical Law of Attraction, The Ultimate Weight Loss Power, or Attract Good Luck. But she's very, very good hypnotherapist. And if you listen to any of her meditations, they're fantastic. And she's an expert on neurolinguistic programming and manifestation. So I was really excited that she gave me a little bit of time to talk to her and pick her brain and learn some more. So welcome to the Reality Revolution, Victoria. So nice to have you.
Thank you. It's very nice to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So everybody's story is always a little bit different. When we come to the point we realize that, wow, our thoughts create reality, and through the way I act and think, that I can change my life circumstances. And so it's kind of like a piece of art when everybody comes to their own understanding it. And so it's never kind of the same. And so I'd like to get your story of how you, first of all, came to this point, how it interests you and motivates you, and tell us a little bit more about how you came to the point of teaching law of attraction, so that we can all kind of get an idea and relate to where you've been.
Sure, definitely. So, unbeknownst to me, my very first experience and exposure to law of attraction was back in, oh, I set my intention back in the first or second grade to play Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. I had seen the sixth graders put on the play The Wizard of Oz, and I said, I'm going to play Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And so year after year, I would see the sixth graders put on play, third grade, fourth grade, fifth
Yeah.
grade, and I would just visualize myself being up there doing that. And sixth grade rolls around, I audition. I actually came in the second role, like the understudy,
Hmm.
but fortunately and unfortunately, the person who got selected, something happened, they got sick or something, and I ended up still playing Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and I never gave up that idea. And so, fast forward to after I graduated from high school, I was dealing with some self-confidence issues, because even though that was a great thing that had happened, I wasn't really the most popular kid in school. And so I was dealing with some self-confidence issues. My mom sends me this book called Total Self-Confidence by Dr. Robert Anthony,
Hmm.
who actually I still get, I'm still on his email list today. And, and I started reading that book, and that really dived in again to the whole power of the mind, visualization, self-hypnosis. And so I really, really started honing in on creating and manifesting. But I took my eyes off of that for a little while. And fast forward another 10 years later,
Hmm.
there was all these like little moments, these little false starts. Well, 10 years later, I'm 28. I'm I'm a financial consultant. I kind of followed in my father's footsteps in that business. And I was married, had a house, had a nice car, had all the things,
Hmm.
that you could ever possibly want for being 28. But I just wasn't really feeling happy or fulfilled. I was just like, super, super high levels of anxiety, depression. And I started kind of going down the road of seeing therapists and trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with me. And what I ended up doing was taking a personal development course, a seminar. And during that 4-day weekend, we did all kinds of really cool things. And it was like amazing breakthroughs. We would do a lot of closed eye techniques. We would do forgiveness. We would do these junkyard where we would clean up broken agreements, and we would just do all these amazing visualization types of techniques. And I came away from that experience really feeling like a profound shift had taken
Hmm.
place in me, and I wanted everybody to experience what I just experienced. And um, it was difficult to get people on board with that, to like come on and take these personal development seminars. And
Right.
so I decided that that what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring the seminar to them,
Mhm.
and I started creating. I decided at that point that I was going to create one of the largest meditation download sites on the planet, and that eventually did come to pass. But it was not without, a lot of soul searching, a lot of, going and taking many, many more personal development trainings, and becoming certified in hypnosis, NLP, all of those things, and creating my own website. And it was one of those interesting. So I believed from the moment that I graduated that little seminar,
Mhm.
they didn't call it law of attraction at the time. They called it to think is to create. And but it really was the same thing as law of attraction. I mean,
Mhm.
first I think that, like reading Think and Grow Rich,
Right.
and Shakti Gawain's creative visualization, and
Wonderful.
and Deepak Chopra, and all of that. It just, all of those things really just contributed to this understanding
Mhm.
that basically we have this power, this untapped power inside our minds, that we can intend something and ultimately bring that into our reality.
Yeah. I really respect the hypnosis that you created, because I know personally I've like 90 on my YouTube channel, and I remember at the beginning it's hard. You talk too fast. There's a timing issue. The music's got to be right. There's so many little factors that go into it. So as as you do, you get better and better at it, and some of them are just phenomenal. And you deal with all kinds of different issues, weight loss, and some pretty. So it's hip talk, right? .com. It
It's
was
hip talk. Yes.
hiptalk.com,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I recommend that. And it made me think when you said that. It's amazing how much better we were as manifestors as kids.
It
Oftentimes we could
is.
use our parents and they would just give us what we want, but it's that freedom, the lack of all the outside stuff that had gone on. It's just that natural, joyous, just desire that we would move towards it. We didn't have all those baggage that we add on to it. So I noticed that too. A lot of people realized they were better at this when they were kids. So
Absolutely. Well, I think, and I also am a big fan of, and I just reread again for probably the dozenth time, the Four Agreements. And
yes,
I
wonderful.
believe that that book is all about, he never ever says the law of attraction. He does say manifesting,
Right,
but I think that part of the reason why that is because, as children, yeah, we're pure. We haven't bought into everybody
right.
else's agreements that they have made, the agreements meaning the limiting beliefs. And we just continue to, I mean, even to this day, when you tell somebody, oh, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna start my own business. I mean, when I decided that I wanted to create my website online, and
Hmm.
even my boyfriend at the time, who was gracious enough to, he owned a recording studio, so he helped me
Right.
with a lot of the recordings at the time, and creating the CDs, and burning and doing all of that stuff. Now it's all, downloads. But
Right.
back then, when I said, yeah, I think I want to start a business, and he's like,
Hmm.
yeah, you've got to sell a lot. You got to sell a lot of downloads
Right.
to make a living at that. I don't know. That just seems too hard. That doesn't seem real. That doesn't seem conceivable. I'm like, well, watch me.
Right.
And I got my certification. I took a little bit of a detour and decided to open up my own office, and
Hmm.
actually practice hypnotherapy with people. But my whole reason for getting certified in hypnosis was
Hmm.
because I just wanted to give myself some credentials to make the recordings.
Right.
And but it was cool that I ended up, for about 6 years or so. I mean, that was my full-time job, was just being a hypnotherapist, seeing
Right.
clients one-on-one. I realized that, I don't want to, for me, I never wanted to, I don't want to trade time for money was
Right.
ultimately what I came down to. Like, and so I'll see some, still to this day, I'll see, a couple of people in a day, and, and I'm okay with that, but I just do not want to sit for four,
Exactly. Yeah.
5 sessions. And there's a limit to that.
Right.
There's a limit to how many people that you can see in a day. And it takes a lot of energy. If people only understood
Yeah.
the amount of energy it takes to, when you just pour everything. I mean, I just have this intention whenever I do anything, whenever I make a hypnosis
Hmm.
recording or a custom or see somebody, it's like, I am willing this person to make that change.
Right.
I mean, I just own it. I take full responsibility that they're going to make the change.
What you're saying is I'm a hypnotist too, and NLP, and you're saying is so right that there's this energy transfer. At first, I
Mhm.
realized I can't do too many of these a day, or I have to feel it create some kind of energy block, or just be aware. When you do these one-on-one hypnosis session, and many times I'd be, let me record one for you, and I'll send it to you. But in that
Mhm.
moment, there is this energy exchange. It is interesting. Um, Studying hypnosis is very fascinating. A lot of people don't realize the dynamics and the science behind it. Some people think there's so much that I learned just through the use of language and intonation, so many talents and skills. Neurolinguistic programming is incredibly wonderful. It's the art of communicating in many ways, and
Mhm.
modeling. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how that expanded your abilities when you started to use NLP.
Yeah. So just to give your audience a little bit of an understanding in case they're not familiar, so NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming,
Hmm.
and it is the language that ultimately your mind speaks. And so different people, what they've learned is that number one, there's different strategies that people use in order to become successful at anything. And so anybody can model those sets of strategies. So if you see somebody that plays sports, or if you see somebody that is really good in business, or you see somebody that's a
Right.
really good parent, you can model that person's strategies. You can break down exactly how that person performs something, and anybody
Hmm.
can do that. The other part of NLP, though, that I typically use in my sessions, is just using a way to, people have different languages that they speak,
Hmm.
and some people speak in a very auditory way. Some people are more visual, and some people are more kinesthetic. Oops, I just and some people talk with their hands
Right. Right.
and knock everything over in sight, and that's me. But
Hmm.
so one of the things I learned early on that I've always incorporated into my hypnosis, is using each of those styles of communication and making sure
Hmm.
that the person, so there's always like a little bit of visualization, there's always a little bit of feeling, and there's always a little bit of affirmations where somebody just hears and listens to that, because it's very much, you'll notice that some people, people respond differently to different types of words. So a
Right.
person who is a more visual person, if I'm saying to you, imagine, you're seeing something in
Right.
your in your mind. And so we want to use that because the suggestions are going to actually take hold much deeper. But other people, they say, oh, I don't really see any images. I
Right.
tend to I tend to hear things. When I say to that person, imagine, that person may notice that there's certain different noises or sounds or words and that
Hmm.
come to their mind. And if I was to ask them to describe their car, they might actually hear the vroom
Right.
of that car. And then other people, a smaller percentage of people are what we call kinesthetic. And those people, they tend to respond more to the feeling words. Oh, I understand. I sense that. And so you want to use these words. And so I've learned to use these words in my
Right.
hypnosis sessions. So that's just like one of the most basic
Right.
tools of NLP. I mean, I also use a little bit of, where we do like swish patterns, where
Hmm.
we'll take a behavior that they no longer want to partake in, and so we'll see that, and I've kind of used a mishmash of different types of approaches to swish that.
Hmm.
But so basically what we'll do is we'll use what's called the sub modalities to take all the color out of what it is that they are seeing when it comes to the thing that they want to
Right.
stop doing. They'll take the color out of that. They'll push it far away so that it's, they'll make it really fuzzy. And so that's called playing with the sub modalities, because our modalities are the visualizing, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. The sub modalities are the the um, the ways that we represent those modalities to ourselves.
Right.
So it might be softer or louder in auditory. It might be harder or softer in kinesthetic. So
Hmm.
we'll play around with those things, and it's really neat the way that you can start to dissociate from the things that you no longer wish to
Right.
participate in, and associate more with the things that you want to replace that with instead.
It really expands your toolbox. There's just so many more tools available to you when you start using this. It changed my life, no doubt. It's continuously, I'm noticing things from what I learned from it, on,
Definitely.
on so many different levels. So you offer a course and help to teach visualization.
I
I found
do.
some links with NLP. Now, first of all, of course, you get the same. I get people all the time. Brian, I just can't see anything. I
Right.
try. I can't see, and I've been there. I know it's we have these great manifestors that it's like they're all pro basketball players. They can visualize so easy, and a lot of us just can't. So let's talk a little bit. What kind of techniques have you used to help people to visualize a little bit better that are struggling with that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So you yourself have struggled with visualizing. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely. One thing that I've taught is I kind of the reverse. There's eye movement that they teach in
Mm-hmm.
NLP that you can
Yep.
watch somebody and see how they access different kinesthetic or visual. Well, I'm
Yep,
teaching
the eye
people to
accessing
use the
cues.
eye movements proactively to create visualization by looking up and to the right, looking up and to the left. I've been teaching a holographic visualization, and one of the things I've learned, and there's other little techniques I'm always learning, trying to recreate images, but it's ongoing, and it is still tough for a lot of people. uh,
Yeah. So one of the things I will do is I will create very simple ideas for people to imagine. And so, for
mhm,
example, I'll have them simply, draw a smiley face on their, on a piece of paper.
right.
Just draw a smiley face. Okay, so you draw a smiley face, you look at it for a moment, and you just kind of allow yourself to just sort of burn that image, into your memory, and then really slowly close your eyes as you're looking at that smiley face, and then see if you can keep the image, and
Yeah.
see how long you can keep that image for. And it may be really faint, but visualization tends to be that way. I think sometimes the other thing is that people think because they're not seeing very crystal clear
Mhm.
images, like that it's just not holographic, and that it seems, like it's right there in front
Right.
of you, they might automatically just write themselves off as saying, yeah, I'm not very good at visualizing. And so they're feeding themselves that suggestion,
Mhm.
because there's very, very, very few people that have this very special problem. And I cannot remember the name of it. It starts with an A, and a something. I can't remember the name of it, but it is a malfunction that they really cannot visualize. But it's
Right.
such a, I mean, like the chances of having that are like the same chances of winning the lottery. I mean,
Right.
it's
Right. It's very
it's
rare.
ex- it's very rare. So most people, they just, maybe they can't visualize very well. And so
Right.
once we establish that, okay, you can visualize, it's just not as clear. And so it's a skill rather than just something that that
Right.
anybody's born knowing how to do. It's not your predominant way of imagining. And
Right.
so that's one thing, is we'll help that person who wants to be able to see pictures, to be able to strengthen that connection, to be able to strengthen their focus,
Mhm.
and it's really kind of bringing it into focus, and almost like putting on a pair of glasses. You've got to figure
Right.
out which how they can best focus. And once they kind of catch it, because it's almost like you need to catch the wave
Right.
of that image, and when you start to be able to see things, then you can strengthen that, and you can start to just ask yourself questions. Okay, what color is it? And how
Mhm.
big is it? And when you ask these questions, the subconscious mind has to look for those answers. So it's like, well, what color? Well, how do you know what color it is? Well, I I can see the
Right.
color blue. And so those are some exercises, some visualization skill building exercises that we do. But in addition to that, we don't want to make the person whose predominant um, way of seeing, the predominant way of imagining is not visualization. It may be hearing. And so
Right.
we can go with that. We can allow that person to, like, okay, just, allow yourself to think the word and describe it in how you imagine that to be. And so those are a couple of things.
Yeah.
Describe your house, describe your car, describe what your um, your whatever the last thing was that you ate. What does that look like?
Mhm.
And so the more you can do that, the more the mind is helping you to strengthen those skills. And I think
Right.
it's really important. I mean, I do believe that
Yeah.
learning how to visualize is definitely a big key to learning how to manifest.
Absolutely.
It's harder to manifest something if you don't know what that looks like, if you can't see it. And I also believe that when you can see something, one of the reasons why we do affirmations, one of the reasons why we bring those visions to our mind, is because they help us to feel, they help us
Yes.
to get in touch with that emotion. And emotion, and an energy in motion, I mean, that is such a key
Yes.
to manifesting.
It really is like playing an instrument. A lot of people think, "Oh, I'm gonna visualize this," and then boom. But I kind of see it more like a baseball player swinging at the ball, and it's hard every time you swing. You got to work on your balance, and you got to see the ball. You got to hit it the right way. So I kind of sometimes tell people, it's not going to be the same. Treat it like you're playing piano and you're learning to play an instrument. Uh, so
I love that.
and so it's kind of a one thing for me is I had a hard time until I kind of like tried to become an artist. Not a very good one, but I could see little details better. I could see the color, the shadow, the light. just thinking differently, thinking artistically, thinking creatively. But it is, and so thank you for that. I think the things you said is very
Yeah.
helpful for
Thank
a
you.
lot of.
One more thing that kind of popped in my mind too, to just to mention about that, I also think that visualizing it also, there's two other things that are at play. Number one, because usually when we're visualizing, we're either thinking about something from the past or we're thinking about something that we want to manifest in the
Right,
future. Present, I, there's almost like nothing to
right,
visualize if we're visualizing the present, right?
right,
So if you think about visualization that has to do with the past, a lot of it has to do with being present in each moment, really noticing everything, really starting to look at the paintings, look at the sky, look at the
right.
sunset, look at
Being
this
in
glass
that
of water,
moment. Yeah,
really be in the moment and take that in, and really become more and more aware of that, because as you're doing that, you're kind of creating a little bit of a photographic memory. And
right.
so that is so we're really drawing upon our memory. So I think the more we can be present with what's happening and really take in those sights, the more we're going to be able to tap into
Yeah,
the past. And I think that's also going to strengthen our, what I believe is really important for visualizing the future, is our
yeah.
imagination. And
Absolutely. Well, you make a great point. And something I've kind of learned lately that's been very powerful is that when we believe something, it's usually a memory. We're believing something because it's
Mhm.
already happened. So there's no doubt because it's a memory. So I've been trying to visualize as if I'm remembering. So if I'm coming from that
Yeah.
place as if I'm remembering, then the belief part goes away. It's, well, that just happened in the past. I don't need to question whether or not this is gonna happen. So what you're saying, I think that the memory dynamic is the people that I've really met that are really good. It's almost like they're imagining it like a memory of the past. They went ahead of time and imagined, oh, I remember when that happened. I don't know. It's just another thing.
Yes.
There is a dynamic with
Yes.
time that's involved with this, it seems like. Another thing I
Oh,
noticed,
and that's another
right.
that's another NLP
Yeah. Yes.
technique, is doing the future pacing
Doing the future
and
pacing. Yeah.
going exactly, and then going
Right.
into the future, and then going into going into a future past the thing that
Right.
you are wanting to manifest. That's
Exactly.
definitely a Neville Goddard
Absolutely. Neville
technique right
Goddard, but
there.
and NLP, it's all very similar. Definitely. Yes.
Hmm.
Um, Neville
Yes.
Goddard was an amazing. He was talking about. He never really uses the law of attraction in his words, but yeah, but it's very interesting. And so
Yeah, I love
another
his
thing
stuff.
I love that you wrote a book on luck, and I write about this in my book too. A lot of people believe that
There we go.
luck is just
And it
something.
didn't have room for it
Yes,
on my.
that luck. A lot of people believe that luck is just something that just happens, and some people are lucky and some people aren't, but it's just not true. You can take somebody and figure out statistically or just regular that they're lucky, but they're doing things differently to create that luck. And I wanted to get so I have people I meet and they just say, I'm Brian, I'm just not very lucky. And I say, no, that's not true. That's not true. You can create your luck. So talk a little bit about luck from your perspective. And obviously it motivated you to write that book. So I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I, believe it or not, I actually wrote this book, Attract Good Luck, before I
Oh yeah.
wrote Practical Law of Attraction.
Right.
This was just, and this was a book that was interesting too, because when I wrote
Hmm.
this book, I had a whole website called Attract Good Luck. I still have that website,
Yeah.
attractgoodluck.com. And shortly after I released that book, I started thinking to myself, what I need to do, and I was having this conversation with my husband, like what
Hmm.
I need to do is I need to start to get some publicity, right? And it was just like this very subtle conversation. I need to get some publicity.
Right.
And then, like within 2 weeks, I got a call. I thought it was fake at first, but
Right.
I got a call from the producers of 2020.
Oh
And they
wow.
said, They said, we are producing an episode called Got Luck, and we'd, like to
Yeah.
interview you. Dan Harris, who is,
Oh, I love Dan
interestingly
Harris.
enough, I
He's
don't
an
know.
awesome author. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
before he was the
Right.
author of this 10% Happier, which I
Uh-huh.
read, and he's got this great app now.
Hmm.
He interviewed me in Florida, in Palm Beach, Florida. This was back in, I don't know, 2007-ish or somewhere. You see my velvet back there?
I see. You see my cat's right back here sitting. So
Oh,
yeah, he's
he's
laying out right now. So
and so anyway, they had me on the show, and I aired about this book, Track Good Luck. Now, it was kind of funny because I hypnotized him, and then he, they kind of 2020, they kind of, their angle is to make you look, a
right.
little
I
silly, right? And so I didn't really, I set myself up there, because at that time he, we did the Elman induction. You're familiar, where you
mm-hmm.
say, okay, your eyes are so stuck together that you can't open them, and then I'm going to ask you to open your
Right.
eyes and they'll stay closed. Well, he, opened his eyes during that little test,
Of course. Right.
and then
Right.
of course, and I handled it well in real life, but of course they deleted all that, and they just, had him open his eyes, and it was like, wah, 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 the funny little music.
Yeah.
And so it was a little funny, but anyway, fast forward, it's like, obviously, he was in a stage of his life where he was really starting to take an interest in
Mm-hmm.
all of these philosophies and hypnosis and meditation, and really on a search, because clearly now he's the big meditation 10% happier guy. So that was interesting. But anyway, getting back, it was just funny because I write this book, and then I have this huge
Right.
lucky experience happen. And, I really believe luck comes down to this quote, is when preparedness meets opportunity. And so, number one, I mean, we really, we really need to believe that we have the ability to, to create and to manifest, and
Mm-hmm.
that the universe is inherently a good thing, that we, that that we have the ability to bring about positive things. If we believe that things are inherently bad, people are inherently
Mm-hmm.
bad, the world is inherently a bad place, then we are ultimately programming ourselves to filter out the good and
Right.
see just the bad. So with becoming more lucky, I believe that we're doing the opposite of that. We're filtering out the bad things, and we're seeing more of the good things, because I mean, it's amazing. We are inundated with something like 15 billion bits of data in any given moment, data just coming at us and
Right.
inundating our senses. And so our magnificent, amazing brain is so sophisticated that it sets up a filter so we don't have to deal with all that stuff that's
Mm-hmm.
coming at us. And so what we believe, if we believe we're luckier, if we believe we are lucky, we're going to create more luck. But
Yes.
there's more to
Of
that. I
course.
mean, you need to be prepared. What
Right.
if you were, what if you were in a position to stand to gain, $1 million thing, something, but
Something.
you
Right.
needed $1 million something. But in order to get the $1 million, you needed to have an investment of $10,000. All right. Now, most people are not in a position to take advantage of the $1 million opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have the $10,000, and they don't believe that they have the resources in order to create that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're out of luck. you're out of luck.
Right.
And so, so I, it comes down to, being prepared, being able to act on opportunities.
Hmm.
If you see an opportunity and you just kind of like, well, I don't really have good luck, so I'm gonna just pass that up because I never, I never win
Right.
anything. I never get anything, and nothing good ever happens to me. And, it doesn't matter if we're talking about money, if we're talking about relationships, we're talking about, whatever it is we're talking about. If you don't act on the thing that, uh, you know, when opportunity knocks, if you don't open that door,
Right.
you're passing up a lucky opportunity. And so, it really just, it comes down to the way we think. It comes down to your ability to act on opportunity. It
Hmm.
comes down to your ability to be prepared, to be in a position. It
Hmm.
comes down to your ability to be ready. And really so much of it is what you believe. It
Yeah.
really, so much of it really comes down to that.
There's a study on luck I always remember where they identified people that thought they weren't lucky, and then the ones were lucky, and they invited them to a coffee shop. But outside the coffee shop, they laid like a $20 bill, and so the
Yep,
unlucky ones don't even see it. They're not looking for it. The lucky ones are always on the lookout because they're lucky. It's an expansion of awareness. They're aware that there's these good things around them. They're going to see the $20 bill, and the unlucky one is not looking because they're narrowing their focus. And so that's why I think
exactly.
and I love that. So
I've seen that study. I
right.
love that study. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, so much of it is being able to expand your awareness to see those opportunities,
Right.
and having an alertness. I mean, having your brain be able to alert you, okay, when I see
Yes.
that. And the more you can, like, really, it's like, on the one hand, you want to be narrowly focused on something that you want to manifest, but you don't want to be so narrowly
Right.
focused. You want to still be able to expand your gaze to allow for other possibilities. Because if
Right.
you're saying, okay, the house must be dark green with yellow window shades, that's
Right.
a little bit too
It's going
narrow.
to take
What
longer
if it
to
was
yeah, I agree. So that's a question I get a lot, and I know you've gotten it. So I want to know your answer. How long is it going to take? It's taken too long. You hear
right?
that question a lot.
Yes.
So, if it's taken so long, how long does it take?
Right. So I absolutely believe, okay, so in my book, Practical Law of Attraction, I talk about, in section 3 of my book, section 3 is all about the conditions. So the book is called Practical Law of Attraction, Align Yourself with the Manifesting Conditions and Successfully Attract Your Desires. And in that, I talk about 8 different manifesting conditions. And I believe that manifestation happens when you are in alignment with each of those conditions. And so if it's taking so long to manifest, we want to look at one of those manifestation conditions that are out
Right.
of alignment.
Okay.
One of them may be like desire. So you may, when I say desire, you have a specific desire, but maybe you've been kind of multitasking. Maybe
Right.
you've been switching back and forth between what you are specifically telling the universe that you want. I mean, so many people, for example, they want to manifest a soulmate. And
Right.
so they say, oh, I really want to manifest this soulmate. Okay, I want to manifest a soulmate. I want to, and then if you're a woman, if you're looking for a man, for instance, then on the other hand, you keep saying, oh, there's no good men left in the world, that all the men, all the good ones are taken. um, all of them
Right.
act like this, all of them are this way. And so you're sending mixed signals to the
Right.
universe. You're basically manifesting that, okay, we're just going to bring on more of the men that suck,
Mm.
more of the ones that are non-committal, more
Right.
of the ones that, whatever it is that you are saying that's how people are, that's just the way that they are.
Right.
You're continuing, so you're not clear on your desire,
Right.
because you're basically sending mixed signals, and you go back and forth. Oh, I'm not going to date anymore because I'm just done with that game. It's just, it's pointless.
Right.
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 I mean, I'm sure that people that are single, that have been single for a long, long time, can relate to that frustration and that
Yeah.
disappointment. But they just keep on sending that signal out there, and the universe just keeps saying, okay, we'll bring you more of that, because it
Right.
doesn't matter if you're focusing on what you do want or you don't want. Whatever you're focused on is what you're going to
Right.
continue to receive. And so, so just that one condition, a lot of people, confuse and um, think of the word law of attraction, that it's synonymous with speed, that it's
Right.
synonymous with magic, that it's synonymous with easy. And
Right.
here's the thing, it's not easy. It's simple. It's simple, but it's
Right.
not easy.
It's
And
not
when I
easy.
say it's not easy, it means you have to grow yourself into the person who is in alignment. This is all here for our personal development,
Hmm.
and for us to become the vibration that is in alignment
Right.
with having that thing. So that's desire. And then thinking, we think 50 to 70,000 different thoughts a day,
Yeah.
and the most of the thoughts are the exact same thoughts we thought yesterday. So if we don't change our thinking into the person who thinks in alignment with what it is that we desire to manifest, then we're just creating the same thing day after
Right.
day. So we have to be able to change our thinking. One of the biggest ones, and it's condition, I want to say condition number 4 or 5. The number is my order
Right.
is always like, but I want to say it's 4, belief expectancy. And so belief expectancy is not just what you believe on a conscious level, but being a hypnotherapist, of course, I'd be remiss to not talk about the impact that our subconscious
Hmm.
programming has on our ability to manifest, because our subconscious thoughts are also manifesting, and most of us don't even know what those are.
Yeah.
So there could be a counter intention, a counter belief that is manifesting. So the
Hmm.
thing is, I say we are always manifesting,
Right.
always. We're just not manifesting necessarily what we, what we think that we want.
Right. So another thing that I see a lot is the idea that when we start imagining and nothing happens, and it's because of the world that we're in. I mean, I get people, we know why the rich get richer, because they see it all around them. It's just so much easier, right? And you get a person
Yeah.
that's living in the studio apartment, barely getting by, and all they see when they wake up is the place that they're living in. And so it is much harder. But what do you say to that person? How do you figure out a way to actively let go of that outside perception, which is so hard? I mean, my eyes see it, I'm experiencing
Yeah.
it, it's what I've experienced my whole life. And what we are asking a lot of times is for people to make a massive change in what they see the world as. And
Hmm.
that is the hard part. That is the hard part,
Yeah.
because we've lived it, we know it. Do you have any suggestions on that? Uh, on how we can
So
change?
what? Yeah, definitely. So you're talking about ultimately in your environment. I mean, you're surrounded by people and things that
Mm.
are always reinforcing the way it is right now.
Right.
And so, I would, it's difficult to change that whole environment all at the same time. But I look at it kind of like, let's just say that you want to manifest just being in a you're in a tiny little apartment
Right.
and you want to manifest being in a huge mansion. Okay, so there's some things that you can do inside your tiny little apartment that can just be a step in the right direction. I say that we have to make the very best out of our present situation in order to advance and like ascend from that situation. So like if you're in
Right.
a tiny little apartment, there are little things you can make it nicer. You can organize it. You can put up nicer pictures that remind you of the big mansion that you want to live in. You can appreciate and have gratitude for the parts of it that are nice,
Mhm.
and make it nicer. Like, and that was one of the things, I'm in relatively moderate house, and
Mhm.
I have my eye on being able to be in a much nicer house, right? And so one of the things that I have been using myself just to get myself closer to believing that that's even possible is I've been stopping complaining about certain things that are
Yeah.
in this house. Like I have in my bathroom, I've got these tiny little drawers in my bathroom that they just bug me. They just drive me crazy. It's like,
Right.
who could even, but so what I've done is like try to elevate my experience in that bathroom so that it's no longer something that I'm putting a lot of negative energy on, because the
Right.
more we put and amplify the negative energy, the more that it's keeping us attached to that present situation. So that's number one. That's your environment, your immediate environment. But also, you are ultimately the average of your five closest people in your
So
life. You've heard
true.
that
So
before,
true. So true.
right?
Yes.
So if you want to start to advance and move out of your present situation, you've got to change the people. If you have
Yes.
people that
Thank you.
love to complain about the way that the world works and how bad the economy is and how bad this is and how bad that is, people just love to complain about that stuff. And if there's so much camaraderie in that, and
Yeah.
you're almost like what if you don't participate in this, you're just going to get poo-pooed out of that conversation. If
Right.
you you know so you want to have conversations, you want to have people that you can have more elevated conversations with, because these are people that have better ideas. And so I believe that you want to start to ascend into more relationships with people that are having more helpful
Yes.
conversations, and people that are more enlightened, and people that have what you want, rather than say, oh yeah, the rich people get richer and they're bad people. If you start to talk
Right.
about, and I'm just saying, if it's the rich people that you want to be one day, well, you can't attract something into your life that you're
Exactly.
against.
Yes. Well, it's hard for some people. I mean, that might mean that that's their family or friends that they've had
Yeah.
since childhood. And I feel that, but it's still a universal truth to me. Sometimes you just have to, let go of those friendships and make radical changes to the people in your life. And I appreciate you
Yeah,
saying
and
that
that
because I
doesn't.
think
Yeah.
I think it works.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to like completely cut your family. If your family is
Right.
like that, it doesn't necessarily, but maybe, you spend 10% less time with those people and 10%, and then you replace that time with spending 10% more time with people that are going to make you feel good and positive.
Right.
And because you need that. If we all are a product of our environment in a
Hmm.
way, but I believe we can create the environment that we want to
Right.
live in, whether it's the physical or whether it's the people. And so it might be a slow process to move toward that and move away. And I think too, I mean, it's like, do you want to maybe be the inspiration? You've got
Right.
the people that are elevated, you've got those people that you are modeling and learning how to think like and be more like. And as you have that, then you can also become the model of how you want your family to be, and you can pull them up into your
Yes. I
vibration.
like that. So we haven't gotten to your other book, The Ultimate Weight Loss Power. And I love that. A lot
Yes.
of people that are, hey, if they're in quarantine right now, they're learning more about their bodies, and it's a different relationship. And so a lot of people just simply don't believe that the mind has control over your weight. Uh, so
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
and so even people that are believers in law of attraction seem to divorce that part of the way. Oh, I got to go exercise and I got to have my diet. But uh, I have seen that your beliefs, very much just like anything else, can affect your weight. And I'd like to get your perspective, since you wrote that. You've probably seen many examples as well.
Yes, I definitely have. So this book is kind of another one that I pulled out from my old books and dusted it off
Hmm.
and recreated it and rewrote it. And I did all of that back in November, December. It was really interesting. I was supposed to be preparing myself to go to Australia in
Hmm.
March. And for some reason, instead of doing that, I said, I want I it was like one of those things where I stumbled upon like this old script book that I had, because I had said that, I want to I'm a hypnotherapist. I should have a script book on Amazon. And I've written probably 600, if not a
Right.
thousand scripts over my 21 years as a hypnotherapist. I was like, what would be the one? Oh, well, with the new year coming, maybe I should pull out this Ultimate Weight Loss Power one. And so
Hmm.
this is a script book that I've always sold on hiptalk.com for
Hmm.
like $49, and it's actually sold really, really well. But then I pulled it out and I really started scrutinizing it a lot more, because that was like 12 years ago and my language has changed. I've changed. my
Right.
my skills have improved. And so I really went through with a fine-tooth comb. I also, because I got about 38 different hypnotists in my industry, really top rated hypnotists, to endorse the book.
Hmm.
As they were reading the book, they also found like little proofreading errors and everything. So I had
Yeah.
38 hypnotherapists proofread
Wow, that's awesome.
my book for me and give me an endorsement. And then, as it turns out, I ended up not going to Australia. And thank God that I didn't, because I would have been there and stuck there during this whole
Oh, wow.
coronavirus breakout. And so
Yeah.
it's like, it's so weird. Like I just felt compelled, like this is the thing I just like that I needed to work on right now. So
Right.
getting back to what I believe about weight loss. So this weight loss book is ultimately a whole system that, when during the time that I had my office in Las Vegas and saw clients, and I saw mostly people for smoking and weight loss
Mm.
and also gambling. And so I just noticed certain things about people, different habits. I noticed, and I had a 10 session program that I developed, and this one actually became 12 sessions. But at the time, I was doing 10 different sessions with them. And
Mhm.
so I streamlined it to be the habits that they need to invoke each and every week. So just like in the very first week, it's all about what do you want? It's all about getting very
Right.
clear on what, how do you want to look? What is your goal? How much do you want to weigh? And we really just kind of get into what types of diets have they tried in the past. And because I don't give necessarily any very specific diet advice, because everybody, especially these days,
Right.
there's so many different schools of thought on that. But what I do is I find out from them, like, what do they want for themselves? What would they like to do?
Mhm.
Different, everybody kind of knows on a conscious level what they want to do, but they're just not doing it because they
Right.
have counter intentions in their subconscious mind. So then we set all that up and we figure all that out on week 1. Week 2, we get into the hunger scale, and during that process, a lot of times people just find themselves, especially during this time that a lot of people are stuck in their homes, you just get bored and you find
Yeah.
yourself going to the
Go to the
refrigerator,
refrigerator. Right.
and
Yeah.
and you're not even hungry.
Right.
Or on the other side of the coin, some people will starve themselves. They are hungry, but they're not tuned in to that. So they need to ultimately come to a place where they only eat, um, during this particular level of hunger. So
Right.
in there's a hunger scale, and they actually learn how to detect when they are actually hungry, and they'll eat only during that time, and they will stop, because the other side of it is that people
Right.
will go, keep eating, even though it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
the food just tastes so good. And they'll
Right.
keep eating and they won't be able to. So it really is, a lot of it is getting, learning how to be a little bit more aware and alert
Mhm.
and intuitive about your hungry, because your body is actually very intelligent. It actually knows what to do, as long as you program it to do the right thing. So it's really all about programming the habits for success, when it comes to your weight, with dieting, exercise, accessing the cause of the weight gain. For some
Right.
people, they might be keeping the weight on to protect themselves. So it really just
I
addresses
love it.
every single possible area, from drinking water to uh, to
Yeah. And it
exercising
is
to,
subconscious, and that's why the script works, because a lot of times we're battling with things that we don't
yes.
understand, or habits, or even neurological symptoms that come up. So I love that.
Hold
So it has
hold on
been
one second. This little guy
there you
wants out. I gotta let him
yeah.
out.
Well, all right. So
Sorry about
no,
that.
no, it's so this has been a real joy, and it was an honor to meet you, and thank you for coming on my show, and bringing
Oh,
your
thank you.
knowledge,
Yes.
and I really appreciate it. And so we all want to create that perfect reality, and the best thing to do is look to people that have done it and taught it, and so that's why, check out Victoria Gallagher's books, check out her channel, check out hiptalk.com, and you can expand on this. There's so many people out there, but you've been doing this for a long time, and you integrate neurolinguistic programming. So thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You're an amazing interviewer. These have been really great questions that have, just I think these are the kinds of questions that, you know, really help stimulate a good conversation that we've had. And I believe your audience is going to be really happy with our interview. And
Absolutely.
I look forward to having you on my show
Yes.
pretty
I
soon.
I will talk to
So,
you then. So it's been
yes.
wonderful, and welcome to the Reality Revolution.
Thank you. Thank you so much.